Russian church architecture is a great and important part of our culture and history. It is enough to recall St. Sophia's Cathedral in Great Novgorod, St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow, the Assumption Cathedral in Vladimir, the Kazan Cathedral in St. Petersburg, and many others. No doubt the peculiarities of Russian church architecture in different regions of Russia are connected. What way? First of all, the Russian onion-shaped dome or cupola was functional in design to shed rain and prevent snow buildup, and also symbolic. Its shape was likened to a candle flame of faith reaching up to heaven. By the time of adopting Christianity, the Old Rus was already good at wooden sculpture, molding, and embossing. Not far from Petrozavodsk is an amazing complex, an entire architectural ensemble called Kizhi. It is difficult to describe what a storm of feelings and how much delight this miracle brings. Of course, stories and photos cannot convey the fullness of this amazing picture. It is worthwhile visiting these masterpieces of Orthodox architecture. The forts of northern Russia between Lake Ladoga and the White Sea were once dotted with semblances of log churches. The Pogost of Kizhi, the Kizhi enclosure, is located on one of the many islands in Lake Onega in Karelia. Two 18th century wooden churches and a clock tower built in 1862 can be seen there. These unusual picturesque constructions built without nails are in harmony with the surrounding landscape. Written sources describe the religious district known as Kizhi Pogost in the Lake Onega region surrounded by 180 villages. A record of 1696 informs that those churches were destroyed by lightning strike in 1693 or 1694. It was soon when local citizens recreated them. The 22-cupola Church of the Transfiguration of the Savior at Kizhi was built in 1714 in honor of Peter the Great's victories over Sweden during the Great Northern War. However, churches, including the one dedicated to the Transfiguration of Christ, had existed at Kizhi since at least the 16th century. According to legends, the carpenter Nestor threw out his axe when the building had been completed, since it was already impossible to create anything better. It can be said that the structure of the Church of the Transfiguration of the Savior is the apogee of wooden architecture. At the Kizhi Pogost, the adjoining 9-cupola Church of the Intercession was rebuilt in 1764 and provides an admirable visual complement to the ensemble. The final vertical element of the original Pogost ensemble at Kizhi is the bell tower with a tin roof between and in front of the two churches. Originally built at the end of the 18th century, it was rebuilt in 1874 and renovated in the early 1990s. In a common late 19th century practice, these cupola shingles were replaced with a metal sheathing that was easier to maintain and was considered more attractive. During the same period, the dark log walls of the Transfiguration Church were clad in plank siding painted white. The post-war Soviet restoration practice placed a higher value on folk craftwork. At Kizhi, the plank siding was removed and the aspen shingles were replaced in imitation of surviving examples. Established in 1989, Kizhi Natural Preserve includes the land area of several islands, including the biggest one, Bolshoi Klimenetsky, as well as a large portion of the surrounding waters of Lake Onega. Perceived by people of Karelia as the true eighth wonder of the world, the Kizhi Pogost is indeed a unique artistic achievement. Not only does it combine two multi-cupola churches and a bell tower within the same enclosure, but also these unusually designed, perfectly proportioned wooden structures look like harmonious composition. The Pogost and the buildings which were grouped together to form the museum site are exceptional examples of the traditional wooden architecture of northern Russia and the Finnish Scandinavian region. The Kizhi Pogost must be preserved as it brilliantly demonstrates the history of ancient techniques and tells us about old lifestyles. The area is rich in birds, such as gulls, wildfowls, and birds of prey, mammals such as elks, white hares, wolves, lynxes, foxes, European polecats, and red squirrels. Occasionally, brown bears are seen on Bolshoi Klimenetsky Island. European vipers are common in stony habitats and grasslands, so visiting this unique place you can enjoy meeting some of these animals. Today, this collection of traditional log structures, centered on two churches and a bell tower set in an enclosure still called the Kizhi Pogost, is one of Russia's greatest open-air museums. The island was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1990.
There are numerous churches and recreated buildings from the early 18th century here on the island. Many of the buildings were here originally, but others have been brought to this island from around Russia to create an island museum. The Cathedral of the Transfiguration, constructed in the year 1714, it consists of 22 domes and is all beam and post construction. Today, the United Nations and private investors are restoring this cathedral.
Preserving traditional woodworking techniques. Russian buildings were traditionally made of wood, as Russia has abundant forest land. These churches are regarded as masterpieces of Russian wooden architecture. The two churches were built during the 18th century, and the belfry in the middle was built during the 19th century. The bigger church is known as the Church of Transfiguration. It's also known as the Summer Church. About 3,000 red pine logs were used to build the church walls. These silver shining domes look as if they were made of metal, but the roof shingles were in fact made from poplar wood. The smaller church is known as the Church of the Intercession, or the Winter Church. Woodworking traditions were once in danger of being lost forever. However, the Russian people are now taking steps to restore these magnificent churches and to preserve their specific tradition for future generations.